Hey, welcome back to Chat Trap. Yeah, this is me, Nick, giving you company today, because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about. And one of the things that we will be talking about today is we're actually touching on and broaching on the topic is a global warming and climate change. Well, we're talking about how, there's this natural climate change, and then there is the ones that we do, the human generated emissions. Well, like I said, most of this stuff is human ones are usually stuff like we burning our fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas, for electricity, heat, transportation, for all of this. It's because of this that we have been contributing to emissions, these generated emissions of CO2 into the environment. And what happens in return is because of that, the earth's surface cannot reflect the heat and the warmth away. So we absorb more, even more because of these greenhouse gases. So in the end, the world, okay, the whole globe warms up because of that. So yeah, there's been a lot of the World Economic Forum back in 2016, of the Global Risk Report. They said that the failure to mitigate and adapt to climate change will be the most impactful risk facing communities worldwide in the coming decade, ahead even of weapons of mass destruction and water crisis. And they blame its cascading effects as climate change transforms into these global ecosystems. It affects everything from the places we live to the water we drink and to the air that we breathe. Yeah, so there's been a lot of these extreme weathers all around the globe. As the atmosphere heats up, the Earth's atmosphere heats up, it collects, retains, and more drops even more water. There's been changing weather patterns and making wet areas even wetter and dry areas even drier. So yeah, the higher temperatures worsen and increase the frequency of many kind of disasters. Actually, these includes like storms, floods, heat waves, and droughts. So these are all natural disasters, and most of this is because of global warming and climate change. Yeah, so these events can have very devastating and if not costly consequences that can jeopardize access to cleaning drink water, to clean drinking water, to fueling out of control, these wildfires, damaging property, creating hazardous material spills, polluting the air, and leading to a loss of life. So yeah, that's just one of the things that climate change is doing across the globe. So yeah, air pollution is just one of those things. Like I said, air pollution and climate change are essentially linked and tied together, with one exacerbation that when one gets exacerbated, the other as well. So when the Earth's temperature rises, not only does our air get dirtier with all of this, smog, the soot levels going up, but there are more allergic air pollutants such as, circulating mold. And that's all thanks to all of these damn conditions, from extreme weather and more floods and pollen, and all of that is affected because of, one of the things. This is because of the global warming, because of climate change. That's just one of the things why, that is contributing to all of this. And yeah, the other thing is, there's a lot of these health risks involved. And one of the major health risks is, according to the WHO, so climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year between the years of 2030 and 2050. That's what they're saying. The statistics show that. And as global, temperatures rise, so do the numbers of fatalities and illnesses from heat stress, heat stroke, and cardiovascular and kidney diseases. This is just some of the examples that I'm talking about. And, as the air pollution worsens, so does respiratory health, particularly, for 300 million people around the world living with asthma. There's more airborne like pollens and mold to torment hay fever and allergy fevers too. There's a lot of these stuff that is happening, and most of this is contributed towards global warming. So yeah, extreme weather events such as severe storms, flooding can lead to injury, drinking water contamination, and storm damage that may compromise basic infrastructure or lead to community displacement. So a lot of people lose their homes. A lot of these communities, suffer, very long-lasting repercussions because of climate change. That's just one of the reasons. So there's a lot of these historic models that suggest the likelihood of being displaced by a disaster is now 60% higher than it was 4 decades ago. And yeah, the largest increases in displacements are driven by weather and climate related events. So yeah, it's worth noting that though this displacement comes with its own health threats, such as, the increase in urban crowding, trauma, social unrest, lack of clean water, transmission of infectious disease, all of that. But a warmer, wetter world is also a boon for insect-borne diseases. And this can include dengue fever, malaria, West Nile virus, Lyme disease, all of these diseases that we know and we've come to despise. But yeah, the other thing though is the rising sea levels. That's something that is being addressed as well. The rising sea level, the Arctic, is heating twice as fast as any other place on the planet, and its ice sheets are melting into the sea, and inadvertently, what it's doing is increasing the water level. The sea level is rising, and the oceans are on track to rise to 1 to 4 feet higher by 2100. So yeah, that's threatening coastal ecosystems and low-lying area like island nations that face all of this, especially like the Maldives, Indonesia, Philippines. They are at risk, as some of these world largest cities, including also New York, Miami, Mumbai, Sydney, all of these countries also are going to be affected by this. So the more warmer, also the other thing that climate change does is the warmer the water, the more acidic the ocean. So the ocean absorbs about 1/4 to 1/3 of our fossil fuel emissions, and now 30% is more acidic than they were in pre-industrial times. So this acidification basically poses a serious threat to underlife water. So yeah, particularly creatures with calcified shells or skeletons like oysters, clam, coral, all of these are being affected by global warming and climate change. And in the end, it's all intricately tied together. That's how, that's how much global warming is affecting us. And some people like Trump, at one point he just said, no, this is all a hoax. I mean, come on, man, this is happening right now, and we are witness to it. It's the sad reality of it all. So yeah, all of this can have like devastating impact on shell fisheries, as well as the fish, birds, and mammals. They all depend on this shellfish, for instance. So yeah, this is one of the things. Like if a creature like a shellfish dies, birds, like fish, mammals, all of this depend on it for sustenance. So rising ocean temperatures are also altering the range and population of underwater species and contributing to coral bleaching events capable of killing entire reefs. I mean, the gravity of it all, just saying it, just even thinking about it, it's just heavy. Like, think about it, ecosystem that support more than 25% of all marine life, the coral reef, like reefs entirely, are getting killed because of this coral bleaching events. That's all contributed to global warming. And there's been a lot of these ecosystems as well. Climate change is increasing pressure on wildlife, to adapt to changing habitats. So yeah, one of these things, and they are making these changes, they have to make it fast. These creatures, these animals. So many of the species are seeking out cooler climates and higher altitudes, altering seasonal behaviors, and even adjusting traditional migration patterns. So yeah, these shifts can fundamentally transform entire ecosystems and the intricate web of life that depend on them. So as a result, according to an IPCC climate change report back in 2014, 2015, I think was it, that they said many of these species now face increased risk due to climate change, and they're freezing increasing times faster than they should be. A phenomenon that that's not been seen in decades. It's been linked to climate change, pollution, deforestation. All of these are interconnected. I don't know if you guys watch the show Dark, but it's like that. It's like every single season is interconnected to each other. Well, this is just one of the reasons. So on the flip side, though, milder winters and longer summers have enabled some species to thrive, including tree-killing insects that are endangering entire forests. So that's just one thing that climate change is contributing to. And despite what climate deniers and fossil fuel lackeys claim, for instance, that the science on global warming is far from settled, there's nothing to debate. I mean, climate change is a reality. And it's, in the most recent report, IPCC, the foremost international scientific body for the assessment of climate change, said that warming of the climate is unequivocally, and since the 1950s, many of those observed changes are unprecedented over decades to millennia. So the atmosphere and ocean have warmed, the amounts of snow and ice have diminished, and sea levels have risen. So our last decade, 2000 to 2009, was hotter than any decade in at least the past 1,300 years. So analysts indicate that, by the time it's just going to be more crazy, the weather is just going to be increasing even more. So yeah, the responsibility to the reverse this worrying trend lies with us. So at least 97% of actively publishing climate scientists endorse the consensus position that humans are the lead drivers of climate change. And as a result, the IPCC states with the highest degree of confidence, it is extremely likely that more than half of the observed increase in global average of the surface temperature from 1951 to the 2020s was caused by anthropogenic increase in GHG concentration, greenhouse gas concentration, and other factors altogether. So that's just some of the things that they are addressing. And hey, make sure you guys tune in for more updates on that. We're going to be talking about all this. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about next will be the Paris Climate Change Agreement. So that's something we will be touching as we move along in the show. So make sure you guys tune in. And with that, we're going to bounce back to some more chats. So check it out.